So how did I do this effect? It's actually a green screen effect using the 3D keyer in any popular software. I use Davinci Resolve. First off, you need some green tape and a pair of scissors. Grab your tape, take a strip off, and cut yourself a circle out of it, roughly the size of a bullet hole or whatever type of hole you want to make in your hand. The reason we do this is because it makes it easier to track in the software. Now, if your video editing software doesn't have tracking capability, you can still do the effect, it just won't look as nice, that's for sure. And all you do now is just put the green dot onto your hand where you want it. Try to avoid any creases in your hand. As you'll see, it'll make the process a little bit difficult later. The next step is to get your background picked out. Get it all locked off on a tripod. You need a tripod or something stable to keep your phone or your camera on, otherwise this effect won't work. So get your background sorted out and take a still photo of that background, preferably with a little bit of blur to it. And I use my hand in this situation to help judge the focus, because the focus is very important as well, depending on where you want to put your hand. And then all you want to do is change your camera over to video record mode and then take some footage of your hand. Try not to get your hand too low or too high, otherwise it may affect the final result. I have opened up my video editor. This is Davinci Resolve 18, and as you can see, this is actually the project I'm actually working on for this video. So basically what you want to do is drag in your photo and your video footage. So in the media pool, you can simply take your photograph and make sure you put your photograph on the bottom layer here, okay? It's important that's on the bottom layer, not the top layer, okay? And your video footage, you're gonna put on the top layer right here. So this is the bottom layer, and I can turn that off. Okay, that's the bottom layer, and this is the top layer now, okay? And it's important because the bottom layer or the photo serves as the background once everything is keyed out. So what you're going to do is go to your effects tab, and you're going to just search for, going to go up into your search bar here. Now if you don't have your Resolve set up quite the same as mine, you may have to reset your workspace, but I'm hoping that you already know. Just go to 3D, and then you're going to drag the 3D keyer over top of the footage. So once you drag that keyer on, you're going to see the effects tab like this, alright? So what I had done, now I could reset this, and we'll just save it first because I don't want to mess this up. So I could reset this, and as you can see now, you can see the green tape behind there, and you also see the blood effect on there as well. So what I'm simply going to do is undo that. But basically what you're going to do is just sort of key out with your mouse right there to get it. And that's basically back where it was. And I use the eyedropper plus tool to do that. And that's all you have to do. So I'm going to back that up twice because I don't want to mess this up. And you can make I have it on flat, but depending on how well the key is, you might have to put it on tight or soft. Some of the other options, I have the despill up to 1. That probably doesn't matter too much for me, but the despill will get rid of some of the green that may be left over. So I got that set all the way up. Under key adjustments here, pretty much everything is default for myself, but you might have to wander around in here, but you probably shouldn't have to. And then again with the matte finesse, I didn't really change anything in there. Garbage matte, I didn't change anything there. And the output is final composite, use alpha. So these are basically all the defaults. And this is particular to Resolve 18, that you can do it this simply. So I got the key on. Now to get the blood effect and the tracking sorted out. Now if you don't have tracking, This thing with the blood effect is not going to work. Basically, what you're going to have is if I disconnect these nodes, this node here, maybe just the output. If I disconnect the output and go back to edit, this is what it'll look like without the blood effect turned on, as you can see from the footage here. All right, so yeah, if you don't have tracking in your software, there's nothing you can do about it. You just need tracking if you want to add the blood effect to it. Now, if you don't have the tracker, you could just do a practical effect in that case. Maybe you have some lipstick or some fake blood or some paint, and you can just sort of paint around the green area, maybe make it look a little more realistic, and that's perfectly valid as well. All right, but I'm not going to do that in this video. So I'm just going to go back to the color tab and turn the output of the surface tracker back on, and that way everything goes back to the way it was. So we have the key on, and now I'm in the color tab here on the bottom, and the reason I'm in the color tab is so I can do the other things. So I found this bloody hole on the internet. I think it was a royalty-free website, but it's just something random I found. Go back to the media pool. As you see, it's just an image I found, and then I cropped out all the transparencies, and I just cleaned it up a little bit around the actually it was this one. This is the one I used, I think. But anyways, I cleaned it up a little bit to make it a little more natural to my hand. So back to the color tab. So there was a few things I had to do. So this is the first node. Now, if you don't have any experience with nodes, this might be a little bit tricky for you. But if you do, then it shouldn't be much of an issue. But basically, this is when you first get into this screen, you're going to have this node here, which is basically just the footage, and then you're going to have this line right here. It's going to be connected to the output. Okay, so I watched another video actually on how to do this. So what you're going to do now for the tracking aspect of it is you're going to go up to your library here, and you're just going to type surface, I guess, or SUR in this case, and then you're going to drag this on to your palette, I suppose. And then what you're going to do is just drag the line from here up to there. So, you know, if I was going to go like that, right? So this is what you go here. And then you would drag this, and we can get rid of that, and drag that to the output. So I'm just pretending I'm doing this from scratch here, essentially. But I'm going to move this down here so I don't get it confused. So this is the original working one, and this is the partial one. The next step that I wanted to do is in this tracker, under bounds, what you're going to do, so I'm going to zoom out here a little bit. Okay, so under bounds, just make sure you're clicked on bounds, and then what you're going to do is draw a fairly large outline around the hole. Now, the reason why you want it large is because if you're putting an effect on it, you don't want it to be cut off by the mesh. So actually it could even be a little bit more than that, so that the effect isn't cut off. Okay, and then you're going to go to the mesh tab, and it's going to create a mesh, and as you can see, it has very well defined mesh around the green area of the effect. So that's a good thing, and they use this for motion tracking in films as well. Okay, and then I just left all this as default. You will have to hit the generate mesh button sometimes. For some reason it didn't for me on this time, but the previous version did. And then you're going to go to track, and what it's going to do is it's going to track forward and backwards on that footage that you're selected on. So for me it's the hand. So this is the back and forward button right here, and you just click the track button, and it's going to go through and do it. And this is a fairly old computer, so it should be quite fast on yours. Right, we're just waiting for it to finish. Okay, and now it's going backwards, where maybe it went forward first, and now it's going backwards. And then we'll just let it finish up. Right, so it's finished tracking now. So it's at the very end, and it tracked sort of partially off the screen. Now there's one caveat, is that if it tracks too far off the screen, it's not going to work. So some of it will end up sort of looking kind of strange. It'll only track so far off the screen. All right. And then you go to end result. And there's not really anything you need to change in here. Defaults, the overlay placement should be fine. Okay, so the next step is we're gonna drag our image onto the palette. If it'll let me. Okay, so we got two. We'll drag this up here somewhere. Okay, and then we're gonna just click on it, and we're gonna hit Alt-C to make a copy. Now what I did here is with the, I don't know what they call this thing, but I made this a little bit bigger so that it could accommodate my image. So you can just go like this, move it around, and adjust it if you need to, just so that nothing is clipped off. So this is kind of like the bounding area of the thing that you want to have tracked. Okay. All right. So we got that. We got the second note. Now you want to take this and connect it to the bottom there. I guess that's the alpha channel, and connect it, and then you see that it changed color to gray. And then what we're gonna do is take the green node out to the green node in on the top surface tracker, and it showed up as black. And then we're also gonna do the alpha channel to the bottom here like that, and that gets rid of that. So now you see the red is actually tracked to the hole. Now this isn't exactly like the one I did because I changed a bunch of other things. Okay, so now this is where we go into the surface tracker here. Okay, so it's tracked to the position we want it, and then what we can actually do is go under overlay placement, make sure that's down, and then go to reference. What I'm actually going to do, instead of canvas positioning, I'm going to do sliders. It just makes it a little bit easier for me. So now what I can do in here if I need to is I could position this around, try to make it a little more close to the hole. I can zoom in a little bit more as well, and I'll move this down a bit more. I can adjust the height and other things as well, which I'm not going to do. Okay, so I played around quite a while, just tweaking the hole perfectly to the blood. So the only other thing I made is I went down here to multiply, and I changed the opacity a little bit to make it match my hand a little better as well. So you could knock that down to about there, and I have roughly what I had before on this one down here. So what I'm gonna do is delete this one and go back to the original. Delete that one. Delete this one. And then we're gonna move this node. Nope. Gonna delete that one first using the delete key on the keyboard. So now that I have everything else disconnected, I'm just putting it back the way it was here. So this green has to go to this one, and we have back the original footage the way it was before. Okay, so there you have it. That's how I did this effect. You may want to play around with some of the other things like blurring it and maybe using one of the other effects on it to make it look a little more realistic. I know, I'm not a big budget movie FX person or anything like that. So, I mean, it didn't really take me that long to do this. Once I figured out how to do it, it probably took about 5 minutes to actually do it, but once it took about half an hour to actually figure it out. So yeah, it wasn't such a big project, and I hope to do a couple more here before Halloween if the opportunity arises. Thanks for watching, and do like and subscribe, and take it easy. Have a good one.